In the not too distant past, I did a musing on how politics makes us stupid, which essentially unfolded an identity cognition reinforcing structure. And the question was asked about whether or not one should add additional relationships to the model to get it to connect more readily with some aspect of reality. And as I pondered it, I realized that one possible extension of that structure might be a model I created 25 years ago, which I reworked, and I'll present it for you here in terms of what I'm now calling acceptance of whatever. We begin with some actual acceptance of whatever, and a desired acceptance of whatever, which is greater than the current actual acceptance. And the difference between the two of them creates an acceptance gap. And that gap, which, we sort of detest gaps and we do things to get rid of them. So we take actions to promote the viability of X, and those actions create an understanding over some time delay, which actually results in an actual acceptance of X, and it diminishes the acceptance gap. And this is a balancing structure that promotes viability, that is intended to get us to where we want to go. Now, at the same time, because of the period of time that it takes for this to happen, which is typically longer than we would like it to take, there's another dimension of this that's going on at the same time, and that this acceptance gap is causing us to have questions about the viability of whatever, and the questions about the viability cause us to do more internal community focus, thinking, pondering, contemplating our navel about whatever, and that ends up diminishing the desired acceptance of whatever. So we end up with a tendency to settle for less. Now, while this is happening, these two loops actually interact to create a very vicious reinforcing structure where the more internal focus on whatever diminishes the actions we take to promote the viability of whatever, so that it diminishes the understanding and the acceptance gap doesn't diminish the way that we would like it to, and this is just the vicious aspect of the other two structures interacting. What this structure is what's typically called a drifting goals structure. Some people call it an archetype, but every time I say archetype, people say, what does that mean? So I refer to them as frequently recurring structures, and I'll do a musing in the not too distant future about frequently recurring structures. This particular structure, well, all of the frequently recurring structures happen frequently across all branches of science. Otherwise, why would we call them frequently recurring structures? By changing the labels, you can get this structure to depict what happens in a lot of instances. If you change the labels, it will actually appropriately depict what happens when people go on a diet, and that I have a current weight and a desired weight, and there's a weight gap, and the weight gap causes me to diet, but diets take a long time to actually become effective, so that while I'm during that extended period of time, I'm having questions about the possibility of me actually losing weight, so I'm willing to settle for less. And I decided, after I lose 10 pounds, even though I wanted to lose 20, I decided that 10 pounds was enough, and it goes on this way. I initially developed this structure 25 years ago, and you can replace all of the X's with the acceptance of system dynamics, and I annoyed a lot of people with it at that point in time, but that's sort of my nature. So there are two. In other words, the reason that we pay attention to frequently recurring structures is because A frequently recurring structure has a well-defined pattern of behavior and a well-defined strategy for, or strategies for dealing with it. In this particular instance, the best way to deal with this strategy is, or this situation or the structure is, to figure out how to decouple the acceptance gap, the time it takes, from questioning the viability of whatever it is. So you disconnect this loop so it doesn't diminish the actual goal of the structure, or you figure out how to get the actions to promote whatever it is you're trying to accomplish to happen much more rapidly, so there isn't a delay that ends up resulting in questions about trying to do whatever you're trying to do. So hope you found this of some interest, and I'll see you in another video soon. Bye.